Yeah.
Hello folks, we have some filmmakers from India. We have a filmmaker I can see who's come all the way from Australia. There's actually two filmmakers who come, one from Singapore or Australia. And we've got some local filmmakers and I think others may come in. Welcome, this is our first of the three industry panels. We have today Killian Kerwin, who's with the Ivanhoe Pictures, and he's going to talk about television and film market in India and producing in India, I would imagine, probably also.
Absolutely, sure.
Yeah, and Mark, who works for CubeWire, who was been a big supporter and sponsor for the festival. All the DCPs and Blu-rays came to us through CubeWire. We'll talk about distribution to theaters in India. So that is today's panel. I just want to let you know that we have two more panels tomorrow. I don't know if any of you watched the Oscars. At the end of the speech that Frances McDormand gave, she mentioned these two words, inclusion rider, which nobody had any clue about what it was about. A lot of discussion happened, and we actually connected with a lawyer, an Indian American lawyer, who was actually one of the few people who actually came up with that concept of inclusion rider. So she's going to talk about it tomorrow. It's something that if you're working in, especially in the US and Hollywood, it's an important idea and concept to know. And then on Friday, so tomorrow's is at 5:30. Today we're starting at 6 o'clock. On Friday at 4 o'clock, we have representatives from the New York State Governor's Office, and they come every year and they talk about shooting in New York and state and the tax break and the other advantages you get for making films in New York. So thank you all. We'll start off by Mark, and we'll start off by Killian, sorry, and then Mark, and then how do you guys just want to sort of address the audience briefly or whatever, talk about your project, and then we can open up at some stage. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you very much. Yeah, I'll start and just give a little brief introduction, and then maybe we can have a chat. And we kind of do different things. We did, which hopefully be comprehensive for everybody.
Can you guys hear? Well, why don't you come
I can speak up if you want, whatever you.
Sit at the back. There's no movie being shown right now.
There is some music going on, which may be distracting to people. I don't know if you guys can hear it.
Okay, I'll turn it
I
off.
know Mark and I can hear it.
I'll ask them.
Thank you.
Do you like the music?
Yeah, but
No,
I might,
it is actually
I
loud
might
here.
kind of get distracted and start thinking about something else.
Now it's much louder since
I
should I
called
speak
it.
louder?
Now that you said, now I can hear it also. I know that.
Well, you were also talking. I'm Killian Kerwin. How are you guys? Thanks very much for making the time this afternoon. I work for a company called Ivanhoe Pictures. To give you a relatively brief history of who we are, where we came from, and what we're doing. My boss, John Panatti, ran a New York-based independent film company called Green Street for many, many years, like almost 20. They made about 30 films in and around New York. Most some indie movies you've never heard of. A couple crossed over to studios. In the Bedroom was nominated for an Oscar, and there was a great time in the late 80s and early 90s where you could make a movie for $1 million and take it to Sundance and sell it to Miramax for $3 or $4 million and put some money in your pocket and then make the next movies, and it was a pretty good cycle. And that has become tougher and tougher to do in the last few years. There are still exceptions, a Moonlight or a Manchester by the Sea or something like that that really pops for everybody in the indie space. But for whatever reason, John figured out and recruited me into his vision, which is that we could take some of the things we had been doing here in the U.S., be it development, production strategy, also helping me with the global festival and distribution strategy, and apply that in certain territories around the world, primarily in Asia. We've done 3 or 4 movies in Korea. We got in China, in India. I'll talk more about that since this in crowd. We're doing Latin America now as well, and there's plenty of film business in any of those territories. Certainly in India, there's a thriving, as you know, not only a Bollywood but a parallel cinema. Plenty of producers and directors and writers and people to make those movies, and technicians as well. But there's plenty of those people in New York or in LA or anywhere you go. So there's always need for new filmmakers and new people with vision, whether you're a writer or a director or producer, whatever you guys personally are doing. You're not discouraged by the fact there's a million other directors or a million other writers or producers. So we just happen to be based in Los Angeles, but we cover again primarily Asia. I think that's it for my overview. if you want to talk more a little bit about
Yeah.
you, we can go back and forth so it's not just
Yeah, of course.
one side.
Okay, so I work for Cube. Cube Cinema is an Indian company that's been around for about 30 years. They're based in Chennai. They have offices around the country. Focused on the post-production and distribution space. So they started out by licensing technology and selling that to people that were making films in India. And now with Cube Wire, they've really innovated in the area of film distribution. So this is talking about theatrical distribution when your content is being played at a movie theater. The format that's played in is a DCP, which is the format that this festival required for the feature submissions. Did any of you guys the ones that submitted your film via Cube Wire? Okay, so you have some at least introductory knowledge of how this system works, and we set it up with the festival so that you could just sort of log in and assign the rights to the festival. So you uploaded the content the same way you would upload photographs or anything to a Google Drive or something like that, and then you assign it to the festival. Cube facilitates the distribution of content to theaters for lots of Bollywood content. We do almost all of the Tamil and Telugu language films. We do about half of the Hindi language films around the world. I have a short presentation that can kind of show you a little 3 minutes. Okay, so we'll go into that next. But so Cube is an asset to help you with your post-production and distribution needs both in India and around the world. We can help you with editing and creation of that DCP, and then the delivery of that DCP to theaters around the world. So making trailers and delivering trailers or features to the theaters. So yeah, we're growing a lot. I came on board last June, this will be a year for me next month. I came from Deluxe, where I did film distribution for the major studios. Worked there for about 7.5 years, and then taking the things I learned there and just applying them to Cube and the films that we distribute. And I think Cube could distribute any kind of film. It doesn't have to be Bollywood. It's just that's where because we're an Indian company, that's where we have started. We have so many great relationships there. But certainly looking into other content as well. And then lastly, we have a sort of on-demand service for if you have 20 or 30 of your friends that are interested in seeing your film. It's a program called Tug, and it's an event cinema business where you can all sort of get together and order that your film be shown at a theater. Pitches in for a cost, and it's a way to sort of arrange for a theatrical distribution of your shorts sort of on your own. So it's on-demand cinema. So, yeah.
Can I jump in with
Yeah,
a
of
question?
course, yeah.
That's fascinating to me. Do you arrange the cinema, or do I have to find it as the 20 people who want? If we all want to watch something, do we have to
you find the cinema. So there's certain, not every cinema is available, right? So there's a database of available theaters, and yeah. So that is a new business for us. So I don't have all the details on that, but Tugg, T-U-G-G, is you can find it at all. It's very simply explained online.
Right.
Yeah.
No, but just my question is, if we decided we were all going to get together and watch a movie here, we'd come to the village theaters and we'd bring our own DCP. How do you help me with that?
Because we did the rights and stuff. So if it was your film, that'd be one thing. But if you wanted to see
Oh,
Pretty Woman,
you're talking about someone else's film.
Yeah,
Oh, okay, got it. Apologies,
Yeah.
I thought you meant my film. Got it. Okay. Perfect.
Any,
Okay.
or if you guys all like Rocky Horror Picture Show, or any sorts of these, those are sort of the traditional examples.
And do you find, because I've tried to broker stuff for friends in India, a lot of Western cinema does not go to India, especially art house stuff. And I've tried to help some friends of mine there, affiliated with Mommy and things like that, get stuff. And I get stymied, and I don't know everybody, but I know a lot of people. I get stymied by the studios, like even Fox, where we had a deal with for 4 years. Like now, Wailing, which we produced and financed, a Korean film called The Wailing, hasn't been shown in Bombay because we tried to four-wall it, essentially, without your help, but just calling up, and they're like, no, can't let. We're negotiating with somebody right now in India, so until that's closed, we don't want to show it because.
Right, the rights are a funny, and we don't get into the rights of the sales. We have relationships there that we can help you with, but that's not our business. Is once the sale is done and the rights have been obtained, then we're going to facilitate the distribution.
Makes sense. Okay, super.
Just to pick up on your Korean thing, there's a big following of Korean TV dramas in India. There
Around the
are
world.
girls in my village who speaks Korean because they watch all this drama like
Around the
crazy.
world, not just in your
Yeah.
village, in Africa, in South America.
Yes,
It's-
yes. But especially India is like wow.
Okay, so I'll flip back to what we're doing. We do a bunch of different content. We start out, as I said, independent film. We sort of tend to that direction in terms of our Indian content. It's usually theatrical, though, as we all know, the landscape has shifted in the last probably 2.5 years into this series. It used to be church and state between television and features, and that line has really been blurred now. And for storytellers, and as an aside, before I took this job the last 3 years, I was a screenwriter for 15 years, so I get what most of you are going through when you're trying to get your content out there. As a storyteller, it's just refreshing to have not just another place, a platform or whatever, to go sell your material or your content or your projects, but also it's liberating to have not to be put in these two boxes. You're either in half an hour comedy or 60-minute drama that has to last for 7 years of a series, or you're in a 90-minute to, well, in India, 2.5 hour feature. You now can find anything in between, and it's okay, a limited series of 8 episodes, of 10, of 2 seasons, of 1 season. We just finished a horror project that we thought we were going to release theatrically, and Netflix bought it. It's a Hindi language horror film, and we showed it to Netflix as a backstop, really, because finding theatrical for what we call the Blumhouse model here in the U.S., where you make something for low budget, like Get Out. You've all seen Get Out, I'm sure, because everybody has. Not many people know who was in Get Out, certainly not before it came out, unless I think the one woman was on TV. Well, the Blumhouse models, they make these movies for not a lot of money, and the movie sells itself. And they put the P&A into it, and they put it on a bunch of screens, and you're going to go see it because it's branded with Blumhouse, it's scary, you like that genre, and you don't really care who's in it. That doesn't work in India. It's very star-driven. You're not going to get your P&A unless you have actors, so you have to go back to the indie model, and then Netflix, thank goodness, and Amazon now, and I think Apple's coming soon, is an avenue, again, another buyer for your content. But to make a short story long, Netflix bought our movie and asked us to add 40 minutes to it and make it a 3-episode, 42-minute series. So instead of 90 minutes of content, they wanted 126 minutes of content. And that's going to be coming out in August. I never heard like a 3-episode series. I don't know. I mean, but there's really no rules anymore for how much you want. Obviously, if you get something successful, they're going to want more of it. But those are what we call rich person's problems.
Right, exactly.
So we look for any kind of genre, TV now, in any length. We too look to Amazon to buy things from us, or Netflix, or as I mentioned, Apple. Local providers on the ground, Eros or Colors or Foxstar. We also doing cinema. We've learned a lesson now. If we're going to make a movie, it's got to have somebody of note in it, so that you can justify a distributor coming on board and doing P&A. We're very used to that in the U.S. Very, very distributor friendly and what's the better word?
Centric.
It's not even centric, but like we're not going to make a movie usually without having a distributor on board in the U.S. because the costs are so high. So you want to do some kind of a pre-sale or partner with a studio. We're open to that too. We do bigger stuff. We have Crazy Rich Asians. I don't know if you guys all saw the trailer for that, dropped about a week ago, which was something we developed in-house with another producer, Nina Jacobson, and we weren't sure where that was going to fit in the scheme of things. And we're trying to find a Chinese partner and maybe make it indie for, I don't know how many, something in the teens, and see if we could make it work. And went around and did the Dog and Pony show in Hollywood, and turned out there was a bidding war, and ended up making an agreement with Warner Brothers, so they're releasing it for the world. They financed it, or co-financed with us, and took it for the world. It'll probably open in August, I think, on 3,000 screens or something like that. If you haven't seen the trailer, you should. You should all go see it, not just because our company made it and we want, for the obvious reasons, but because it's good for all of us. If a English language movie all about Asian people in this case primarily Chinese, is released on 3,000 screens in the U.S. and simultaneously worldwide within a week of each other, day and date. And it does well. It's good for all of us who are trying to make content with people of color in the leads instead of people like me.
And this is called?
Crazy Rich Asians.
Oh.
Yeah.
Chinese, the Singaporean.
Well, they're Singaporeans of Chinese descent. The
Okay, yeah,
lead
but
characters live in New York, young people, and he goes back. He's from Singapore, and he goes back to.
Huge anticipation about it.
There is
That-
huge,
that's
and,
what's
and
right.
I'm
The
shocked they dropped the trailer. It came out, I think, about 10 days ago on the Ellen DeGeneres. I think it's had 9 million hits on YouTube and the Ellen channel.
Right.
And I'm shocked it's not coming out in June. It's August, I think, 17th or 16th is the release.
People like rich people.
I guess. But it's well crafted. John Chu is a fantastic director, a Chinese American director, and Warner Brothers, God bless them, put a lot of money into the production, and they're putting a lot of very thoughtful energy and I assume more marketing dollars into making it a success. So again, it's good for, I believe, everybody in this room if a film like that succeeds. Want to
Yeah, I'm
throw
gonna.
it back?
Yeah,
Want me to
just
throw you-
go through this presentation.
Actually,
Yeah. Put it there.
yeah, put it there because it's
Behind the
still sort
No,
of
you're fine.
blocking the screen.
I want
No,
to
it's
see
not-
it.
it's no big deal.
I want to see it.
Okay.
It's no big deal. So just walking you through this, and again, if you were the person that uploaded your content and assigned to the festival, some of this will look familiar already. So Monty, we can. You could manage an entire worldwide release and the entire chain of events through CubeWire, right? A lot of times what happens in India too with these Bollywood films is that different rights get sold down to different, like California will be one guy and Los Angeles will be one, even sometimes within Los Angeles. So this is built to facilitate that sort of thing. We have a theater database of 140,000 screens. That's the movie theaters all around the world. We deliver via hard drives, also via broadband and satellite, 24-hour call center, secure, doing KDMs, and multi-level approvals, so you can have as much control as you want. Monty? Uploading, so we have an app that you download onto your computer, upload the content to the wire, we archive it there, and then deliver via broadband, satellite, or hard drives to the exhibitor. Okay. How it works, pick your movie. So once you've uploaded that film to your company, you'll see it appear in the list of compositions. Then you'll choose your theaters, and then we, the network of partners that make up CubeWire, will deliver that content to your theaters. We also are integrated with booking systems like Max, but I think, so primarily like these are big studio booking systems, something you wouldn't have to manage yourself with. We'll go through these. These are going to show you some screenshots of what this looks like. So this is 2 pieces of content that this company, the Digital Cinema Company, which is just a test content, has uploaded. Something called Mr. Ernest, which is a trailer, and then Caminandes. These are just trailers. So you're selecting the composition, and then you'll go down here to the select theaters, which we'll move on to the next.
With the language, says French, do you have subtitles?
Yeah, we do both ways, right? So sometimes the subtitles are burned in, like the film last night, Nude, those were burned in English subtitles, but sometimes the subtitles come as a version file. So if you make your film as an OV, they call it, and then they have different subtitle files for whichever areas. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So if you were going to do this, then you would do your bookings in Spain, you would put the Spanish language version file, right? Or right. Yeah. So as you type into that box at the top, oh, you're fine. Let's go back a second if we can. Oh well. Yeah, back to the. Sure, right there. So it's it's auto advancing, I guess, or something. Yeah, perfect. But it's auto advancing, so. I just want to say there was a field where you type in the theater like Village East, and it'll show you all of the theaters named Village East. You'll see the one for New York on the street. You'd select it, And then once you have those two, the compositions that you want sent there and the theaters you want it sent to, you get a summary of the booking. So here we have the composition, Mr. Ernest, which is the French with no subtitles. So that's French, dubbed, 4K, you know, so date it was made. And then the key, so if it's an encrypted file, you have to have a key sent along with it. This is telling you the validity of that key, you know, from the 9th to the 31st of May, delivering that key to the theater, and then we're delivering the DCP, that piece of content, by May 9th. And we'll do that via how it selects, whether it's on a hard drive or via broadband or satellite, is what's available and what's cheapest to get it there by the date, right? So the date that you said is May 9th. And it would give you a price here as well of how much that would cost. And then you would confirm it, and you can actually even pay with a credit card right away, or we can set up billing terms. So, yeah, the next slide. And again. Right, so this is the delivery mechanism. The algorithm that's running behind it is looking at what your orders place, and then our network of partners and what they provide. So we have partners all around the world that say, I can handle these areas in this amount of time for this much money via hard drive. I can handle these areas via satellite for this much money and this much time, right? And so the algorithm looks at all those options and decides the best way to do it and the cheapest way to do it. We spent a lot of time in the last year getting global coverage there. So I think we're up to 115 countries that we can distribute to now. Most of the Indian content that we're distributing to is going to the places where the Indian population is largest. So we're not sending a lot of stuff to South America yet, but there's lots of examples of places we're not sending stuff to yet, but we do have coverage now because in all those areas. So, yeah. And then WireSafe, so this is just talking about I probably should have cut this slide too. This is just talking about the key security, which a lot of studios are very important. And it could be important to any of you if things are being sent before a global release or something and you want to be, it's just as explaining the technology behind the encryption and how we manage that. 116 countries, okay? So these are all the countries that we have CubeWire network coverage. Yeah. A nice word cloud of all those as well. Canada, Argentina, Brazil getting... This is stats describing our two things. Our TDL, or our Trusted Device List. This is the database of theaters worldwide, 140,767 screens. And then within those screens, we have data about the projector and the server and the library management server. Those screens are at 34,000 theaters across 198 countries. So we have data on theaters that we can't even deliver to now, right? Because we can only deliver to 116 countries, but this is the data around the world. And that's delivering content. We could deliver keys to those theaters because keys are normally sent via
So what's the
email.
KDM regeneration rate?
Meaning that a key is sent and you have to remake it for some reason that the server that our data was bad, right?
So lower percentage is good?
Yes, a lower percentage is good, meaning that our data is accurate and we don't have to remake many. We've sent 1.3 million keys with over 800 films on the network. And these are just some sample pricing. I mean, this is it's kind of become a commodity, how films are sent now, and different prices. UK is shockingly low, like $35 to $40. US is about 70 to 90.
So Mark, let me ask you.
Yeah.
I think you've already explained that people really understand.
No, I know, but it's a lot of terminology, I'm sure.
No, I want to go to the basic idea. So once we moved away from those reels to the DCP hard drives, what were especially films that were mass producing films? You know, like in India we have this company called Yash Raj. They only open in 2,000 theaters or something like that.
Right.
Were they sending 2,000 hard drives to different theaters, or they were?
So now instead of the reels of film, there's so you can do it in any number of ways. They can do so most wide releases in the U.S. are now sent via satellite, right? There's a network that most theaters are connected to. About 2,400 theaters in the U.S. are connected to a network called...
Which is what you're doing also.
No, this is actually different. We are not a part of that network. We are in talks to become a part of that network, but we haven't really needed it yet because most our release patterns have... The largest release we've done has been about 500 theaters, which is fairly large, but also, you guys know how Indian films, the timelines are so late, right? To send via the satellite, they want 10 days in advance. And most of the Indian films, they're premiering on Thursday, and we ship them on Monday or Tuesday, right? And we don't get them until Monday or Tuesday, right? We haven't negotiated a way to use that satellite network because of the sort of intricacies of Indian films. But that network that satellite network could come on board as a partner, as a network partner. And then
but the advantage of the filmmaker basically is, they don't have to make. They just have one hard drive now, and they upload it into your system, and
Yes.
you guys distribute it.
Right.
So
right.
let me ask you then, because you and I have been in emails for more than a month now.
Right.
So a couple of questions. There was that film coming from Sri Lanka, for instance.
Yes.
They couldn't upload it. Is it because the internet was very slow?
They had their network at their house or wherever they were uploading from
So that was an internet issue.
Yeah.
But the other question was, once you gather the DCPs into your system, once they've been uploaded, most of them are done in India, for instance, then I would see emails saying, we're shipping these 4 films to the theater. What exactly were you shipping?
We were shipping you a hard drive. So there was another way we could have done that, where we could have put an appliance here at the Village East. And originally Arun, I don't remember who had sold it, he said that, like, oh, we don't want to mess with it. Village East wants it to be the same way as it always has been. But we could have installed a piece of an appliance that all of those films would get directly delivered to the theater.
Right.
And there wouldn't even have to be that process of ingesting a hard drive. Right. And that's what we're moving towards in the future, right? Is having more theaters connected to that sort of a plan.
And how would that have been sent if it was just...
Via fiber, like internet, high-speed internet.
And when you were talking about the sort of files being sent through satellite over, is that also just, you just have one file and that, if it's 2,000 theaters, it's getting sent to all those theaters via satellite?
Yeah, it's like a broadcast, right? It's like a TV broadcast, a satellite broadcast is the same idea. Yeah.
So in that sense, it cuts down compared to...
Yeah, so it is cheaper to send via satellite. Like if back on that price page, so it'd be like if we said 10 days, and we could do that now. We could say 10 days, and I think the DC rate's probably like $45 or $55, right? So, but
Wait, to make the DCP or something?
no, to deliver it to each location.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And 10 days, you're talking about the time frame of how long the film is going to run?
No, 10 days meaning like you're saying it's Monday and I want this delivered on Wednesday, right?
Okay.
So that's the price that we listed up there, which said 2 days. So 10 days is really like it's Monday and I want this delivered next Wednesday, right?
Okay.
And that's what I was just saying. It's not feasible yet for us to use that satellite network because we never have that much advance notice of when. Typically, but it's a good option in the future. Yeah.
Tell us some of the real life challenges you faced in India. I mean, it's good to see it on the slide.
Yeah.
Tell us some stories.
I mean, it's just the last minute nature of the. Well, I'll tell you a success story first. So Bahubali 2. Bahubali 2 was the first time we got them to agree to release the whole film on using CubeWire. So they used our whole process, and we facilitated that entire release.
It's a big
right?
project.
And it was a huge project, right? It had, I think, it was 400 and some locations here in the U.S. Right? I focus on North American deliveries, so that's where I'm. But we had partners in all around the world that were doing this, and it was nearly day and date as well. So it was a real great way to prove that what we had envisioned would actually work. I mean, and then the system works great.
You don't have to be bad, but just
no,
funny.
right, but it's
funny stories.
it's just like, oh, we selected This just happened last week. You know, someone selected the film version, like you were talking before about the subtitle version, or was it you? Sorry,
I was talking
the subtitle version, right? Instead of just the English version, they selected the Arabic and English subtitle version. So this is some countries in
They do,
Middle
yeah.
East, they have a dual subtitle track, and so of course people in the United States didn't want to watch an Arabic track. Or this was even funnier. What film was this? This was a film recently where the opening language was it was Hindi, and people were upset because they thought it was a Telugu film. And it was a Telugu film, but the villain in the story was a Hindi character, and because of some of the internal politics that I wasn't aware of about Indian language, you know, and the primacy of different languages in India, you know, people were walking out of the film and saying, and we thought we'd somehow shipped the wrong version, right? That how did we ship a Hindi version for this Telugu film? Like, it was dubbed, you know.
Yeah, sometimes they have Pakistani actors in an Indian film, and
Right.
that's a big issue.
Right, and
So-
so we had this, you know, this customer in this theater saying, "Oh, we have the wrong language version," and it wasn't that. It was just that the opening dialogue in this film was Hindi. even
I think
though
you
the
need
re-
an extra step to really double check it, and maybe. talk
Well, that
about-
one wasn't even a mistake. That's just the nature
But-
of the.
but it's
mo- the
conceived as a
one wa-
mistake,
Yeah,
yeah.
right.
But what about the titles? Weren't they in Telugu or?
So that part wasn't subtitled, right? It
No,
was,
not the subtitles. The
oh,
beginning of the movie,
oh,
the titles.
Yeah. Good question. I'm not sure.
maybe it was in English.
Yeah, maybe it was all had been changed to English.
I was in IT for 15 years. It's same deal, the cultural nuances are so different from here to India. Even if
Right.
I'm born there, I still can, but we'll still have gaps in
Yeah,
communication. So,
yeah. It's
but it's a good way to learn, right?
Yeah, yeah,
None of your business.
yeah, yeah. And it's been fascinating for me to learn all.
But I
those-
still can't believe Bahubali, you guys did it, huh?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
That's big.
Yeah.
By the way, I want to say something. Because of Martin Cube Lab, to be honest, this festival is happening this year. You guys did a fantastic job, made our life easier. Coming from someone from the past 5-6 years dealing with DCBs and KVMs, specifically, thank you. Y'all made it happen, honestly.
Monty and I have
Thank
horror
you.
stories about KDM. We want to
Whatever.
share it
Yeah.
with all the people here, really.
And the whole point of this technology is to make this easier, make it more self-serve, right? So that you guys can easily go on and have your film sent to theaters around the world, right? In a cheap and easy way to do it. So, and it's an Indian company, so we're supporting, the
Is it a
same.
private company? Who owns
We're
it?
just
If you
we're
can
just
share it.
merging with UFO, actually. So Cube and UFO will be the same. The merger is being sort of ratified or approved now.
And all the big production houses fighting you.
Yeah, there was a strike for the Tamil language films that lasted a long time. There was a strike for a brief period for the Telugu language films this
Excuse
summer
me.
as well. Yeah,
How do you deal with who deals with the local,
localization.
censor board and stuff, that the production house gets all those?
Well, we can facilitate the delivery to the censor boards, but as far as making the censor cuts or stuff like that, we can do that as well. But
Do you have a relationship with them? In different countries like India or Pakistan?
yeah, we certainly can get you in contact with the right people. We also have some people that we refer to if people want assistance with getting distribution and getting sales. We have a couple agents that we can refer you to as well for that.
And have any inroads been made for example, documentary content?
In what inroads? How?
Documentary content, are they?
Right, documentary content. It's like any other kind of content. It can use the system for distribution. Yeah.
No, but I'm asking you if they have.
There hasn't been a lot of documentary content on our network, but actually that's probably more for Killian. Do you guys ever get into documentary? No, always scripted.
It's not our
Yeah.
in our DNA.
Yeah.
By the way, Arshad runs a film festival in Toronto, and he has a film here too. So he's a filmmaker, and
Okay.
so you might talk to him later about it helping him out.
We know the guys from Festily and Cinesend well.
And
They're a partner in Canada.
Denali something, I think she's the regional
Oh, okay.
She's an Indian girl there in Toronto.
Okay.
She's big.
She came last year, right, Asim?
Who?
Denali, the girl who runs the regional thing from Toronto.
Delani.
Yeah, Delani, yeah.
You're mixing up the. Do you call it Denali?
Yeah.
Same
I'm
thing.
dyslexic, so I switch.
Yeah. So, Kiran, I had a question to ask. I was very curious about how, on demand from Netflix, you guys had the horror film that you're talking about, that you had to add more content to it. So additional characters were written, the script had to be added.
The script had to be added for sure, yes. No additional characters. The bottom line is they like the content, but for them, we are sort of, as I said, the lines are blurred. We're agnostic to what they want to call it. Whether you want to call it a 142-minute movie that's been chopped into 3 parts, you want to call it a 3-episode series, doesn't matter to us. Our filmmakers and production were happy to go back into production, and the writer-director got the opportunity to then spend some time with his characters. And to your point, probably the 3rd episode is exactly the last 40 minutes of the movie. The 2nd episode is probably about 35, 40 minutes of the movie with 3 or 4 minutes added, and the 1st episode is almost exclusively new content.
But that's a good problem to have.
It was a wonderful problem to have, because especially, again, in having to make this into a 90-minute movie over the course of many, many, many drafts, even before we got into production and eventually post-production, what themes, what are you focusing on? Is it the woman in jeopardy? Is it her relationship with her father? Is it the constraints of this place? What is it, and certain things have to go, because you really have to find your narrative through line to make your story, what are your trailer moments? What are you selling? And we had a lot of different, very good elements in this, and choices had to be made. And one of the relationships that went out the window, you think you solve it, and you insert certain lines sometimes on ADR. You throw something in to explain something, because you had to take a whole, not just a scene out, maybe you took a whole thread out, but we can answer that in 2 lines here. It's not as good, but that's okay. The rest of the movie works very well. So we got an opportunity to go back in, again, especially the writer-director, and go, oh, great, I get to, now I really get to do that father and daughter relationship. I can spend 15 minutes setting that up, without boring everybody and making it all about that, but weaving a tapestry that was able to.
And this is a project that emerged out of India or here?
This is a project in Mervyn. We are involved. We have a 3-way partnership with Blumhouse Productions. Obviously, you all know, make the horror movies, and Phantom Films based in Bombay.
Mm-hmm.
And the idea was that horror does extremely well in India, imported horror. Be it from Blumhouse, Get Out, Insidious, Purge, or Coraline, The Conjuring, other things that come from other makers. But the homegrown, there's not, like many territories around the world, the local horror is just, it's not very well crafted. And with all due respect to people who make those movies, you don't have the resources or maybe the experience that Blumhouse has, or some Warner Brothers or whoever else is bringing these other horror movies and exporting them globally. So the idea was to use Blumhouse's sort of creative knowledge and expertise in the horror genre. Phantom obviously has a stable of good directors and content providers there in India, writers they know with ideas, scripts, and then Ivanhoe was we financed the slate, and definitely we're more involved ultimately than anybody thought with creative and all that, which is great for us, and made this what we think to be a very good piece of horror movie in Hindi, 100% in Hindi, with a few English splatterings here and there, but it's a Hindi movie, and went around to the marketplace, and without a star, as I said earlier, they've just the theatrical deals we could find, even with Phantom behind us, who's backed by Reliance and the Blumhouse name, and what we really do believe is a good piece of content, ultimately didn't sell. So in the way we want to, we had a couple of offers, distribution offers, but, and you have to put a P&A money. I'm sure you guys know all about this. I don't want to bore you with it, but the P&A recoupment was not going to come out of theatrical. It was going to come from other sources, which, well, it makes no sense. Theatrical, it financially puts you upside down. So we just said, well, if we're going to, rob from our SVOD deal to fund that, we might as well just go right to the SVOD deal. So we went to Netflix. What do you guys think? And that's when we had the discussion. And for them, to go back to your original question, a series is much more important for their platform. They like a series. They have people that tune in, not saying they don't do Netflix original movies, because they clearly do, but the idea of a series is like, hey, I can watch a 40-minute episode, or I can, I don't feel like a movie, it's 11 o'clock at night, you're tired, you can watch half an episode is different. Like when a movie, I don't want to make that 2-hour commitment. So they they have all their talk about algorithms. Those guys are algorithms beyond belief. So for them, the idea of a series, it's just, it's the same. Like I said, it could have been a 140-minute movie. Instead, it's 3 40-minute episodes.
I'm just curious now, why would that financially make more sense for them? They charge a flat fee on a monthly basis. I pay $7.99. So whether I log on for 1 minute or the entire month, they're not going to make any extra money.
They're not going to make any
by being there.
They have to satisfy. So it's a whole different discussion. But in the old days, if I made a 10-episode series, half an hour comedy or an hour drama, didn't matter. I had you for 10 weeks. You're going to come back every Friday night or every Thursday night or every whatever night your show is on, and you're going to watch. And now I'm going to dump the whole thing to you, and you can spend 10 weeks watching the 10 episodes, or you can watch it in one night. And that's a little much, but oftentimes people come in on a Monday morning, and I've watched the whole season that just got downloaded, whatever they call it, released on Friday night. And so on Monday morning, you're hungry again. You want something. So they want these series to come. Series are important for them. But as I said, it's not about how much you're logged in or whatever it is. Sometimes you want something smaller. Like it's a small, it's not a commitment to sit down on a after work and you've been out for dinner and you had a drink and you come home and you want to watch something before you go to bed. You don't want to watch a 2-hour movie, so you watch an episode. Hey, that's great. And then I'm going to come home tomorrow night. I got to get home because I want to watch the next episode. I watched 3 last night. I watched 2 and I'm going to watch 3 tonight. That's how they get you hooked. It's
I think the viewing habits have changed so fast.
100%.
And that's where the algorithm comes in.
And no one knows more than Netflix.
That's the morsels they want. Those are the sizes of morsels they want.
No one knows more than Netflix about that because that's all they do is they crunch these numbers. They know all of you who have Netflix accounts. They know what you watch. They market their next like our movie. So I said already it's horror. There's some supernatural elements. There's some Indian mythological supernatural elements. There's a woman in jeopardy. There's some action. So you may get the woman in jeopardy trailer and poster with Radhika Apte looking afraid of being. You may get the action one with people shooting each other. You will get the one about the relationship between the father and the daughter, and you'll get the one about the mystical, supernatural, because that's what you like to watch, right? If you like this, well, you might like this. Well, they're going to market to each of you the same movie, or same series in this case, is going to be marketed to each of you differently based on your viewing habits. And if I log in on your account, but I'm not you, and I'm your sister, your brother, your mother, whoever it is, they'll give you a different trailer and or key art than they will your friend who logs into your account. If they know that they can distinguish between the two.
Because you say who's watching.
They know who's watching. That's exactly right. That's why they do it. Because if you watch horror all night long, and I watch love stories, and you're logging as me, and like, hey, you might like this romance. Like, I don't want to see that. You want to see that? No, I don't want to see horror. I don't like horror. It keeps me up at night. Whatever.
Yeah. So going back to the subscription base, you were talking about the one thing bad about actors. I'm a SAG actor. They don't get received for any Netflix.
And I can tell you, as a financier, we sold our thing to Netflix, and we made our profit, but we don't get any back end. We don't get library rights, we don't get ancillary rights, we can't then flip it to a satellite, so it's not just you, it's everybody.
Good to know.
I guess I'm just deviating from this topic just for a moment. My perspective is I'm an Australian Indian and indie filmmaker, so we don't have studio backing. What advice do you have for these sorts of filmmakers that want to really create co-production opportunities with India? It sounds like you're also, some of the movies that you described are kind of from the indie space, or they have been picked up by studios, I'm not sure. But yeah, just for, I guess, that segment of the market, what would you suggest is a first step?
So you asked a lot of questions, all good ones, but there was 5 or 6 in there.
Sure.
I'll start with this. First of all, we don't do Bollywood movies.
Okay.
So if it's song and dance, and next thing Mark and I are up on the roof, and sorry, that's not what we do. We
And
do more.
That's not what we're looking
Right.
to do. either.
It's about, it's two things, and I have this conversation with everybody all the time, every day.
Mm.
Who is your market?
Yep.
That's the most important thing. I don't care what language it's in. I don't care what color the people are in. I don't care where it's filmed. I want to know what's your primary marketplace. Is it for the Hindi market, or Malayalam, or Telugu, or one of the other territories there? Is it for global, which is a catch-all, but you kind of gotta pick. Is it for North America? Is it for Europe? You know, it's probably a North American global, or it's an Indian, one of the territories in India is
So a
my
bit of a
guess.
geographic. You break it like you focus more on a
That's what-
geographic target.
Absolutely. So if you want to make an Indian themed, like Crazy Rich Asians, which we started 3.5 years ago when the company was formed, maybe 4. By the time it took to go into development, get sold, get made, and get released, probably almost 4 years. We probably wouldn't make today at Ivanhoe, our sister company, which is Sidney Kimmel Entertainment, which does North American English language stuff, would probably do that, because Crazy Rich Asians, even with its Crazy Rich Asian theme, is a movie not for China or Asia. It will play there, don't get me wrong. It's going to go day and date globally, as I told you, and we all hope it does well. But that's a North American Warner Brothers film. So I probably wouldn't be buying that and developing that today. In fact, I met with a writer today about an English language Indian themed TV show that actually I like, that we may do in tandem with her, but probably not for us. And then the second thing is you have the marriage of art and commerce, right? So you're all filmmakers, I assume, or writers or producers or directors, something, filmmakers. You're into your art. You want to make your crazy punk film, or you want to make your romance, or whatever it is, or your art house, this, that. I don't think art house is pejorative, but it's seen that way in the marketplace, because art house really means that you need to go probably find a rich uncle or a bunch of dentists or somebody who want to put money into your movie, or you beg, borrow, and steal to do it yourself, and you make your movie and you apply it to festivals like this, and then obviously the bigger ones, the Torontos and the Berlins, and Cannes is now on today, right? And hope it gets in, and then you get a sales agent, and then it gets a sniff from the Netflix and Amazon buyers are there, and it gets put on a global platform. And that's great, and that's a wish and a prayer, and that is absolutely not a business strategy. The other side is the commerce, which is figuring out, okay, I know what my marketplace is. How can I get this made in a way where, and by the way, this is the great news for all of us again, is that there is now Netflix and Amazon and Apple and Hulu here in the States, and all these other stars and all these other networks and platforms, and because that didn't exist as an option even 5 years ago, maybe even less. You know, you had to go, if you're in India, you got to go to Viacom 18, you got to go to Fox, you got to go to Sony, you got to go to Eros, you got to go to Reliance. Like, you know, maybe if you're lucky, you get in with Yash Raj or somebody like, or Dharma, somebody who seems to have put deals, or they distribute themselves. But if you don't do that, you're out of luck. You know, you four-wall it. You weren't around then, your company, but you four-wall it, or like everybody's been doing forever, it's the festival circuit. Here you are, you know, and there. By the way, there's nothing wrong with that, but that's not business. So now, you know, you got to figure out, you got to position yourself in a way that makes sense. And by the way, you don't have to. Somebody told me the other day, and I don't necessarily believe this is true or not, but they say you either make a movie for $200,000. At least then you have a chance with cobbling together a little bit of money from Amazon and Netflix and a little bit of satellite money, and if you have music, because you do, even though you're not a big Bollywood movie, you still like your music cues. Maybe you get a music deal, and for $200,000 you can put a plan together. Like, I'm going to show you how I'm going to recoup that, where you might get someone like me to say, all right, you put a thing together, it looks like you're going to get 160 of this back. I'll give you the last 40, and hope we get something because we believe in you and your project, and that's great. Or you go up to the $1.5 million. In the middle, in other words, this is not my opinion, someone else's, is death. Because at $1.5 million, you can afford to put somebody of name in the thing, so that you can more or less guarantee yourself a theatrical release ultimately, even if you don't partner with one of those studios up front or distributors or a Netflix or an Amazon. You can still, there's a good shot you will, because they want to see Rajkumar Rao's next film, or Anushka, or you know. But like I said, we had Radhika Apte, who I'm sure most of you know. She didn't get us the theatrical distribution. I mean, or not one that was that was a good deal, putting up the P&A for us. That may change. I hope as she gets to be a bigger star.
Well, she just got signed for World War II movie.
Yeah.
She's
Yeah, they're
played
filming in
Indian,
Philadelphia right
Indian,
now.
yeah.
So for an indie film to have a good sort of business that would make sense for business strategy, what is it that you're looking for? Like, what would make sense? Since you said that you're not really interested in sort of looking at Bollywood films, like, what do you look for that would make good
Always looking for a
business
good
strategies?
story.
Right.
Honestly, it sounds trite. Number one is if I don't fall in love with the script, you can't imagine how many scripts I get to read. It's inundated. It's crazy. Or treatments or pitches. You can imagine a lot of them are better than others. A lot of them are not as good as others. I gotta read this and go, this is great. I wanna push this rock up the hill, right? I gotta believe in the filmmaker. First, I'm a writer, so writing first, and then the filmmaker. Okay, have you made something before? Can I watch it? Can I, is it a feature? Is it a short? Doesn't matter to me. Show me that you have some what attachments do you have? Are you cousins with Riz or somebody, like you're gonna get somebody, what's your budget? Very important, someone pitched me this thing the other day. Yes, I think this is gonna be it's gonna be around 12 million for 8 episodes. I'm like, are you out of your mind? Like, then what universe? Like, are you Baz Luhrmann? Like, this is crazy. So budget's important.
So how much weight does the star power have? You said
Star power
you're
has,
looking
unfortunately,
for-
has a ton of weight. What's the opposite of commensurate? Incommensurate, like unequal. It's true because that's what the people want to go see. That's what the marketing dollars, buy. Is you can't. We can make a great movie, like I said. In the U.S., you can put Get Out with a couple people on the poster you've never seen before. That's not working in India right now. Yet, I think it will change. But right now, today, I know this because we just did this with our movie Ghoul, the Netflix series now. You have to have somebody of name, big enough to warrant that theatrical. Now, that being said, we did sell it to Netflix. We made another series. We just wrapped. We're doing a. So everything I say has an opposite, right? Like, we're not going to pay it for anything unless we have some kind of strategy. We've just financed fully with our partners, Film Caravan, who you probably know because they were
Pooja Kohli.
Pooja and Sanjay Bachchani. We partner with them on a 8-hour series. It's very much like The Wire, if you've seen that on HBO.
Is that the one set in Delhi?
Set in Delhi. Richie Mehta is directing it, and he wrote all the episodes, and he directed all the episodes, and we shot like one big movie, 80-day shoot. I was over in India for December, January, not February, but back for all of March, and financed the whole thing. We did not sell it to a platform because we believed in the material. We believed in the filmmaker. Because it was a series, we didn't necessarily have to worry about stacking it with stars. He was able to cast Shefali Shah, Adil Hassan, Denzel Schmidt, Rasika Dangal. I'm sure you know who these actors are. Great actors. I don't believe any of them is going to open a movie. And by open a movie, I mean get a distributor put a P&A movie up, like one of the cons or something like that. But because it's a series, the series is going to sell itself. And so the fact that he was having the freedom then to have all these great actors, and I can tell you they're all great, and the performances are off the chart. And I think it's going to be a show that is going to do wonders for India because it's going to be global. I think because in its appeal, because of the subject matter, and the quality of it is going to show that. I mean, this is the problem when you're in India. You're competing on the screen or on the platforms there with the stuff that's coming out of Hollywood.
So where is it going to be streaming? Amazon or because you haven't? That conversation hasn't happened yet.
That conversation, they are knocking on our door, and we're like, when we're ready, we'll show it to you.
Okay.
And I'm not being. It's nothing about arrogance or anything. We were so certain in the content and the filmmaker and his ability to execute this, and then he stacked the deck with this fantastic bunch of actors, not stars, actors, that we were willing to make a very big bet that we will be able to sell this to a platform.
But is it always the filmmaker or writer that suggests to you how they want to stack it, or sometimes maybe the decision is made by you? You know what, this would be great if we had a good actor here.
I'm new in television, but I can tell you the pressure is not on you. I could probably take out all 4 of those actors and put any 4 of you in here who can act. That's what's probably not going to be the tipping point between the deciding factor of whether or not that sells to Netflix or an Amazon or whoever else, because you're not marketing it the same way. You know, if you're trolling through like it's just like Get Out. Like who are the stars of Get Out? You know, who's the star of The Crown, right? It's Claire Foy. You never heard of Claire Foy 2 years ago. Like name any of these shows. You like Breaking Bad, Bryan Cranston. No one in this room knew who Bryan Cranston was, even our actor friends, before he did Breaking Bad.
Unless you watch Malcolm in the Middle.
Nope.
But that came later.
But he wasn't good.
But
I
you
didn't
just don't.
Right.
The series you don't need to. You know, Seinfeld's Friends. Friends made all those people stars. Right?
Exactly.
So that's the difference
That's good to know.
between
Okay.
the series and. So I go over to India now. I meet with filmmakers, and it used to be 2 years ago, 3 years ago. It was like, hey, I got this script and I've got this pitch for this feature I want to do, and I've also, you know, I've worked on half of this, so it's not right, but I'll show you the treatment for this. And now I get maybe 1 feature and 3 or 4 series. Everybody wants to do series. Now some of that's because it's driven because of financial, because they think that Netflix and Amazon have come to town with their checkbook open, which they did. That has changed also now. They're not in this arms race. There's still a healthy competition, but they've become much more savvy. They've gotten burned, and they've figured that out. They also have now staffed on the ground, and Netflix has hired 4 friends of mine that I've worked with have all been hired by Netflix in the last 3 months to staff their Bombay office. So the times are changing. They're going to keep buying content, but the prices have come down. Even acquiring movies, they might have paid $850 for something. I think they paid $1 million for Brahman Naman, right, at Sundance a couple years ago. Like,
Paid $1 million for that.
something crazy.
Wow.
Some
Remember they came here, right?
Yes, we showed it here after Sundance.
some crazy number like that. Maybe it wasn't $1 million, but it was not less than $500,000. I bet they'd be shocked to get $100,000 for that now.
But that was a good movie. I loved it.
But
Loved it.
beauty's in the eye of the beholder.
Funny.
Enjoyed
funny.
I hope that answered your question in a long-winded
We have
way.
to wrap up. I'm sorry, it's 6 o'clock
Okay.
and the
But
film's
we can
starting.
talk
but-
outside with them, right?
Yeah, just one thing I wanted to
Yes.
say too is the reason why Cube comes to these festivals and sponsors this is because we want your content on our network, and we believe in you. We think that by getting your content on our network and having us facilitate the success of your release, it makes a lot of sense. So I think, you know, in some ways just want to make sure that end on a positive note, that like we believe in you and the films that you've made, and are really happy to be here.
Thank you very much.
Excellent. And you guys
Very
are
good.
outside, so everyone can talk to you.
We'll have a lady
There's a
from
film starting at 6
Cincinnati.
o'clock,
She
so-
also runs the film festival.
Okay.
So she'll
Alright.
talk to you all.
Yeah, for
From
sure.
this age, I'll ask her.